My name is Duman, and I'm a rescuer from Kazakhstan. We worked in the city of Gaziantep and Nurdagi. We drove for a very long time because there was a huge, just enormous traffic jam on the highway. So we got there only at night. I don't remember exactly the time, but it was already dark. We were assigned, given a place to stay. They told us we could set up our tent camp here. And that was it. We started setting up a camp. While driving through the town of Nurdagi, we could see the destruction where the lights were on, but we couldn't see the whole scale as such. We passed through the town, and I had a rough idea that the houses were destroyed. It turns out that we almost didn't sleep a day and a half traveling from our town. We rested only a couple of hours and then got up. And when we got up, we were really shocked. It had already dawned, and it was clear what had really happened here. And that's when I was really shocked at the extent of the destruction. Everything was just destroyed there. Everything was simply ruined. People were on the streets, in tents, burning fires. And there was a sorrowful atmosphere. There was no mess where you just come, see a house you like, and start to clear it up. There was a management team that coordinated us. Before us, tasks were set, and we carried them out. The guide led us to a building and said, "This is where you work." And we started to work. We worked for 24 hours without stopping. And then, when everyone's batteries started to run out, we decided that we needed to split up. We decided to work 8 hours. We divided into 2 groups, worked that day through, and as a result, we got on track and began to work non-stop for 8 hours. Well, officially, it was 8 hours, but in fact, it was about 8 hours of work and time it took us to get to our camp. There was traffic jams everywhere. And after you got to your camp, eat something. And literally, you could sleep for 4 to 5 hours or so. Then you get up again, wash up, eat, travel, replace the guys from the second shift, and so on in a cycle. It was our squad, which worked in Nurdagi, that took out 3 people alive. Only 3. While the rest were already dead. There was one moment when a dead man was lying. And we could see him. We looked under the slab. Here, he was in front of us. But the difficulty was that several floors were laid on top of him. And no matter how powerful and strong the equipment was, we had to work hard. It happened so that it took us a long time, a day and a half, maybe 2 days, to take him out. We were picking concrete around him, crumbling, destroying, and we got to him. And there was a moment they heard something. When they were removing the rubble, we were working from this side. They were working from that side. We were clearing up the same building from different sides. They heard a woman's voice and called for an interpreter. The interpreter translated that everything was all right with an injured person, and he managed to talk to her. And it turned out to be a woman. He talked to her, and she explained that she could not get up, but there were no injuries and that she felt more or less fine. "I can't get up," she said. "I'm in a very small space." Eventually, while we were talking to her, we heard someone else coughing, a second person. I asked her, "Are you alone?" She said, "No, I'm with my mom." My partner and I climbed into the rubble and started looking through all the rooms, all the cracks, all the voids. And there is such a point. We climbed without a radio, without tools, because there were no places where you really couldn't get through. So we took off extra tools, our vests, everything we could, and in overalls and helmets with flashlights did we go in, observing all safety precautions, of course. But we took off all unnecessary things. It happened so that we reached a dead end, and there was a small gap, a hole of 20 centimeters in width and 15 in length. We looked into it, and there was a big cavity at the bottom, but we could not get through. And when we went forward, I noticed a cavity. It was above us. I said, "That's the one we need to check." In the end, when I was going back, and we were only 10 to 15 meters from the exit, I shouted to the guys, "Bring me the equipment and the radios." I began to look around. There was a huge labyrinth there too. I saw a light in the distance, a flashing light. I crawled towards that light and peeked through the hole. It turned out that it was my partner, and I turned out to be under him. He didn't have to leave, and suddenly I heard breathing. Someone was wheezing, lying, and breathing heavily. I asked him, "Is that you who is breathing?" He says, "No, it isn't me." I say, "I hear breathing," and I begin to search. I get out of that cavity, crawl on. I'm approximately going for the sound, and that sound turns out to be right in front of me, under me, I can say. I start digging out of that place where the sound is coming from. I'm digging out of that place, and eventually I find a man. I found a man. He was under an iron door, a lattice door. He was pressed very hard. His arm, his leg, and his body. It was very hard for him. And there's one moment. I dug out, and instantly, tears started flowing. I just couldn't hold him. I don't even know. I can't express these feelings. I started digging him up and shouting, I found. I started shouting to everyone, I found. Everybody went right there, pulling all the equipment there. And we had to move him a little bit. And when you move him, he yells, you know, and it breaks your heart. It's very hard work. Finding a person is one thing, but getting him out is even harder, because there were such nuances. His arm was pinned for a very long time, as well as his leg. So toxins collect there, and if you release it abruptly, he could die. One moment, and he could die, and all our work would have been useless. It was very, very, very hard. Just very, very hard. He was pinned. His arm was crushed by a slab, a huge slab. I don't know how many tons it weighed. And we had to dig and dig, do something, make different tunnels, manholes, chisel the wall, chisel this slab. Eventually, we hollowed out this slab, and the boy looked into it, and it turned out that he was holding another man by the hand. Then we looked further, and there was another man lying there, but he was no longer alive. But in the end, thank Allah, we pulled him out and carried him away. And there was such a moment. It seemed to me that I had been in that rubble for an hour at the most. And then I asked the guys, so how long did it take to get him out? They said, yeah, about 4 hours. That is what happened. When we took him out, the ambulance immediately took him away. We never saw him again. And when we got him out, there was an interesting moment. We were working inside, and the instrument was really heavy. And I won't lie, we were very tired. We handed it over to the guys, and they carried it out. By the way, there was also such a weird moment. We were working inside, and the aftershock started, an earthquake. It was just for a second or two. Something started falling down. We immediately pressed ourselves against the walls, and suddenly, everything was alright. In the end, we finished working, got out, and there were cries and cheering. Everyone was clapping, shouting and crying, "Well done." The Turks ran up kissing everybody. I went up to our interpreter and told him, "I found him." I was very tired. All of them were happy filming everything on video. I went around the crowd, got into UAZ, came to my senses, drank some water, ate some chocolate, and fell asleep. Then a few hours later, they woke me up. "Come on, let's go. It's shift change." And that's when I asked him, "How long?" He answered, 3, 4 hours. I said, "How long did it take you to get the girls out?" "Well, 8, 9 hours or so." I don't know. It's so euphoric. All the fatigue is gone at once, and you're full of energy. You just become a superhuman at this moment. You keep on working, and you don't get tired. Nothing hurts. In the end, we cleared up the whole building completely. We were told in advance, these many people had to be here. That's it. We found them all. All of them were found, and only one man was left. We couldn't find him. We had already cleared up the entire building, down to every single stone. We had already used thermal imaging cameras, echo sounders, acoustics, everything we could. All kinds of devices. We could not find him. And then it turned out that the man's relative was there. And he said, he's actually deaf and dumb. And he showed his photo. And the guy said, hey, he was the first who we took out. The one I found turned out to be him. Can you imagine this? And amazingly enough, he turned out to be deaf and dumb. Can you imagine? He was lucky. We went in and yelled, is there anybody alive? No answer. Anybody alive? No answer. In any case, a person will cry, ah, or something else, help, in his own language, in Turkish. His relative, you might say, has already buried him. And he turns out to be alive. Can you imagine? He was just incredibly lucky. Here's how it's organized. An acoustic device, a device that listens to sounds, arrives. And before listening, a person with a loudspeaker stands there and starts speaking in Turkish. Is there anyone alive? If there is, please call out, knock, scratch. We're going to listen to you now. And they start listening. At this moment, all machinery, everything that can make sounds, even people, should not move, should not scrape the ground beneath their feet. Everything, literally everything around freezes. And they start listening. And eventually, if they hear something, they start digging in that direction. And it turned out that he was deaf and dumb. Just imagine, he wouldn't even hear that. The survivors there told me, every time we fell asleep, we thought we probably wouldn't wake up this time. Just imagine their situation. And they were there for days. And they just froze. There were such moments. I'll just tell you one case. Imagine a person who had lost everything, his home, a member of his family. He was sitting and waiting. He was just humbly sitting and waiting. He was told, don't go behind the curb. He was sitting behind the curb and waiting by the fire when his family members would be taken out. And there's another point. At first, when you work, you start sweating. You sweat, you get wet, and then you stop, and the cold sinks into you. I don't know how to explain it. There is such a moment, but you do it this way. And I'm standing there, shivering. And a man runs up to me and takes off his jacket. Here you are, put this on, he tells me. He shows me by all his actions that I should put it on, and he takes it off. But he himself has only a thin t-shirt, and that's it. I tell him, no, no, no. I mean, I show him, no, 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 thank you, I say. I mean, just imagine a man who has lost everything and simply has nothing, but he's ready to give you his last jacket so that you can put it on, so that you do not freeze. You know, there's such a point. I was going there as a rescuer, for an Emercom rescuer on an international scale. For a simple rescuer, this is the highest level. I was going there, and I thought, I'm going there as an Emercom rescuer of an international level. Not every rescuer can go and work in such a situation, in such a moment. And you know what? When I got there, I just realized that life is one moment. In one moment, you may lose everything, everything you were striving for, everything you had, everything you have. Neither money, no fame, or power is worth anything. They're worth nothing at all. You just have to be a human in every situation. After returning from there, I stopped smoking. I'm trying to behave properly, to act honestly, because I saw a strong faith there, a true faith. I was in mosques. I was at different religious festivals where all sorts of different religious people spoke. But when I was there, I really understood that apart from faith and that humaneness, you need nothing in this life. I am thinking of creating an organization that will be financed so they can organize such a group of rescuers so that it is equipped with equipment as all the other simple, regular civilian people, and so that these rescuers, in an instant, on a helicopter landed exactly to the point where they should work. The world is ruled by a few people, as some believe. Let these people also think at times like this, that not only should we look for profit, but we should make sure when such large-scale trouble occurs, we could react quickly.